Crackle crackle. G'day lovely people, welcome back to Nat's Knackers Yard. I'm Nat and this is my Knackers Yard, and this is RatBoy, who's not looking very ratty anymore at all. Why? Because Nat's been busy. Kapow! So that's the tank painted up and looking pretty good. So that is just masked off with tape and black spray on the yellow. It's got the old decal on as well, which is looking pretty cool. There's no 2K, no nothing on it yet, but it looked good. I've had a bit of a piss around with the side panels as well, just for John Trey to annoy him. A little bit of the old transformers, and I think it's looking pretty good. So what? Fortunately, I think it's looking too good, and it's really making me question whether or not this is good enough for it. And I'm having a bit of a play and a bit of a think, and I'm now considering going for that. Not sure yet, not sure. It's just looking too pretty. It really is looking too good. And to make it look slightly prettier, I revisited the front mudguard. I'd given up on it because it was just horrendous and I wasn't getting anywhere with it, but I thought one last blast, and it's now looking pretty good. It's not perfect, there's still a few crumps and creases in it, but frankly it's an 18-year-old bike. But it just needed more needed more yellow. It's going to get less yellow because the point of this one, because I more than acknowledged that I just cracked on with that and I went a little bit nuts with the spray. It's got some tidying up to do. There's a couple of the worst bits that I'm going to try a bit of hand paint yellow, see if that will recover anything. I don't think it will, frankly. It's just, you know, painting anything on top of black, you're not going to get through it unless you really pile it on and you ruin the lines. So I think I am where I am. It's never going to be perfect. That wasn't the point. It just needs to be better. And actually, from a foot away, it looks fucking brilliant. From a foot closer, it looks a bit ropey. But what I am going to do is do some pinstriping on that front end, down that mudguard, and just show you how I do that. And that's a nice evening job for tonight. And painting in the dark, spray painting in the dark is always fun. Not orchestral manoeuvres in the dark. In the dark, even spray painting in the dark. Right, let's get on with it. I need to go and pick up a rug wrap first. Right, so that's me reset up in the kitchen. It's going to be a bit disjointed, but hopefully it'll hold it together fine, because there's a stew in the oven, all my own work. There's a dog wandering around underneath me, and there's one of the kids in, the others are out doing stuff. It's going to be a little bit disjointed, but we do what we can. Right. What do you need? What do you need? You need a bit of preparedness to experiment, I think. Right, so fine line masking, that is just stuff I got off Tintranet, and it's lasted me ages. I mean, there's 55 meters of it, for crying out loud. 3mm wide. It's brilliant, gives you a really sharp edge, Get some decent bends out of it, but at 3mm you're not going to get a proper curve out of it. I really struggled on a previous project on the ER5 to get a good curve on it, but excellent stuff, gives you a really sharp edge. Frog tape, delicate surface, painters with paint block. For edges that you're spraying against, it's worth spending some money. So I mean, that was about £6, I think, as a roll, maybe 7. But that is low tack frog tape. It is brilliant, and you get a nice sharp edge off it. That is cheap crappy masking tape you get from your local stuff. I would not spray against the edge of that. You are not going to get a sharp line, but it is good for what I tend to do, which is getting my paint to line with that and then overlapping any old crap on the outside. So you just need something that'll stick. This stuff is curve tape that I got from Halfords. You see it's a little bit more ribbed for extra pleasure. It's designed so that you can curve it. It's shite, frankly. The curving of the edge allows paint underneath and you have to tidy it up afterwards. So yeah, use it, but don't use it for an edge if you can get away with it. Yeah, right. So what am I going to do? First things first, it's going to struggle to focus because there's not a lot apart from big massive yellow. First things first, I'm going to mark out as near as damn it to a centre line as I can, just to give me a reference point if nothing else. So centre line down the middle. I'm going to do it by eye because I've tried measuring, I've tried marking. Frankly, the human eye is brighter than you think. It's cleverer than you think. Just going to get it down. This is a good gloss surface, so my low tack stuff isn't going to peel my paint. So I can put it down, don't like it, pick it up, move it. Don't like it, pick it up, move it, till I get it in the right place. I'm just going to mark that centre line out and then judge it from that centre line and across. Could try it without, but frankly you're just going to end up chasing your errors around a surface. So get the black out, get some scissors, get some other stuff and crack on. Right, that's you jammed up there. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this footage. I'll see how it comes out because it's going to struggle to focus, and plus I am going to, there you go, first struggle, because there's not a lot for it to see, and I am probably going to get my fat Sweden away, and I don't want to cut this up for the sake of good filming. So let's give it a go. So just judging at the centre mass. I've got a big mass of yellow in front of me, so it's actually really quite hard to see. But I'm just going for straight guesswork. Hold it relatively straight. Camera's struggling like a bad boy. Hold it as straight as I can without trying to hit the stand. It's not particularly straight, so I'm going to take it up to that middle mark. Judge it as I go. Now this is a nice, following the pattern from the tank. I'm going to go for a big thick pinstripe here, so I'm not actually overly concerned if this isn't dead straight. That is not what I'm trying to achieve. I just want to mark the middle. Right, so by my eye, and it's really difficult for you to see up there, I've got a bit of a kink in the middle, so that's why this stuff is low tack. Just piss around with it till you're happy. Might be different if you're trying to paint onto a matte surface rather than a gloss one, but just keep playing. Better, but not quite. I've missed the middle at the end. Just keep peeling it back. Now this is a centre, as I said, this is a centre mark, not a paint mark, so I don't need it perfect. I also don't need to stick it down hard either. It is just to guide me later. Now that is as close as I'm overly bothered to get to a middle. A bit of a, no, that's not too bad. I'm happy with that. Right, no I'm not. Flip it round, change your angles, don't chase errors. Do it as many times as you want. There is no rush, and the only pressure you're feeling, you're putting on yourself. So if it's going wrong, go away, have a cup of tea, do whatever chills you out. Not that, do whatever chills you out. Apart from that, that's rude. And then just come back and give it another go. Right, that'll do me. Right, there we go. There's some trams on there. Now obviously I need to take this off before I go anywhere near it with spray paint. So that one is nice and straight. This one, I'm not sure if you're going to pick it up on the screen, is a bit wobbly. So I've got them in the right place. Sorry, I've got this one in the right place. Took it to the half, peeled it up, put a bit of tension in it, not stretching it, because if you stretch it, you're just going to end up with thicker, thinner, thicker, thinner. So put a bit of tension in it and then just gently drop it back down. So what you're doing is getting rid of the little wobbles. So I've done that side, still need to do that side. Right, so that's both of the lines tidied up, and a little bit of a cock up, because as I was tidying up the line, it has pulled some paint, which is frustrating. So what I've done is I've just dropped the line back a little bit more, and that'll be blacked over, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. It's still no wider than the one on the top. Yeah, it's still actually closer with it there, so I'm happy with that. I'm just about to serve up dinner, so more of this later. Yeah, so I think I'm about as good to go as I'm going to want to get. I'm really annoyed about that bit flaking, but like I say, I've just moved it across and it'll go over black. Now the trouble with any line that you have is the more and more you look at it, the more you think, oh, it's not quite straight. And you could piss around with it forever, but that's not what I'm going to do. Right, I'm going to transport this outside and I'll show you the painting rig. Right, so not the best light in the world, but yeah, so that's my slightly hokey setup that I use to paint the frame. My bucket's going very yellow, but the front mudguard fits over it perfectly, like it was designed for it. So bearing in mind I had that slight pull, I've tried as much as I can. This is my frog tape, my good stuff, and actually the very last of it, so I need that. Don't forget to buy some more. And I've tried to stick it to the lining tape rather than to the surface. Let's see how we get on. Right, let's go for a bit of dusting. Right, so a few seconds later, that is what I mean by dusting. It is literally, you know, from about the range that you are from here actually. So from about, what, 12 inches. Just quick, barely even 25% coverage. It's just really starting to introduce the paint to the surface. As ever, my paint is in a tub, keeping warm. What does warm mean? I wouldn't want to leave my finger in there too long because it's going to get uncomfortable. So I tend to boil a kettle, do half boiled water and half cold water, roughly, never measure it. But you want the can, to my mind, slightly uncomfortable to hold. Not that it roasts your hands and burn you, so I'm not taking any responsibility for that, but you know, you want to know you're holding it, and it just gets the paint to the right temperature. So yeah, actually, yeah, I can hold that comfortably and it's not going to burn me, but I know I'm holding it. It's, you know, above body temperature. Right, happy. I'm going to do a bit more painting. I'm going to give that a few minutes just to dry off. Only 3 or 4 minutes. Doesn't need a lot. It's only powder. It will dry incredibly quickly. So there you go, second dust. Starting to fill out a little bit, but I am still very definitely dusting. I'm not going for 100% coverage. I'm not concerned that it's blotchy, patchy and everything else. That will sort itself out. I want to try and do probably 1 more dust and then 3 what I'd refer to as wet coats. But it's really dependent on what I get left in that can. It's literally the last of my black. It's probably about where my thumb is. It's more than enough there. Right, I'm going to give that another couple of minutes and then do the same again. Right, that's 3 dust coats. As you can see, the coverage is there now. It's just patchy, so I'll let that dry off and then start banging on some wet coats. Now obviously this is matte black, so it is going to be a matte finish, but obviously, I am going to varnish it or lacquer it and then polish it back in, so it's all going to be just as shiny. So, excuse me, that was a lovely dinner repeating on me. Yeah, so it's all going to end up shiny in the end, one way or t'other. Oh, sirens in the background, nice. Happy. Let's let that dry off and I'll bang on a load of wet coats. I don't think I'm going to jump in and out between coats. Kind of dull. I've just put on more paint. Click. I've just put on even more paint. So yeah, I think I'll bring it back in once I'm at a decent stage. Right, so that's 3 wet coats with a bit of a pause between coats, but not too long. How long? The beauty of overspraying is that you can check. So that is tacky, but it's not coming off on my hand. So I'm leaving fingerprints, which is why I'm not touching my nice paint. So you can give it another coat when it's like that, happily. Because what you want is for each layer to bind with a layer underneath. If you let it go bone dry, you just effectively, I mean that's a little bit too wet still, so I might give it another couple of minutes. But you effectively want it tacky because you want the layers of paint to bind with each other. Leave it too long, you just put in a dry layer, dry layer, dry layer. And that's how you end up with that sort of gobstopper layer, 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 in my humble opinion. So leave it to get tacky, sticky, but not coming off on your hands. See, this is, it's matte paint, so it dries really quick. That's fine. So I'm just going to bang a final layer on that and then leave it to tack off again like that, and then start taking the tape off. Opinions differ as to how long you need to wait for the paint for the paint to dry before you start taking off the tape. It's just, I've got no proof of this. I've just got a feeling that if you leave it to go dry and then peel it off, it's going to crack. So I like to get it when it's kind of in this condition here. It makes it quite a messy job to get off, and you've got to be really careful you don't drop it against other fresh paint. But I just think you get a sharper edge. Right, okay, it's now pretty much dry and pretty much slightly tacky. Let's go for the big reveal. And nice and gentle. I've got a bin bag next to me ready to catch this stuff. Close the kitchen door because it's still essentially wet paint and it's a bit whiffy. Not too bad. Might have to sacrifice some cinematography so that I don't drop it and cock it up. So excuse the arms. Always check your hands are clean before you touch unsprayed surfaces, because big mucky fingerprints are annoying. Right, so that's one off. Right, so just a quick break to wash my hands, get rid of those bits of paint. Quite happy with that. Seems to be going in the background. Right, so let's go for the other side. Am I feeling brave enough to do two at once? No. In a word. That's coming off nicely. Nice, gentle but consistent pressure. Maybe trying to rip it off. And now the more satisfying one. We've got paint on the other side as well. Right, let's go for this one. Oh, you bastard. So tragic, it's almost funny. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, the air turned blue for a little while there. It's fucking irritating when that happens, but there's nothing you can do about it. It's low tack stuff. It's just there was some imperfection in the paint that tape just ticked off. Pisser, but nothing that rubbing down and doing it again won't cure. And besides, there'll be more paint on it. It means that it'll be a bit thicker. Irritating, but you will always get warts and all on my channel, people. I'm not going to not publish stuff because it didn't go perfectly to plan, or if on occasion it doesn't make me look like a complete cock. Right, so what, going back to my thinking, I've whipped the back off. I love this tank. It's got some imperfections on it, but it's just made me rethink that back end. That's not to say I'm not going to do it, but I'm just not so sure now, and I'm just looking at other options. Now, the issue that I've got is, there's a really bad diagram of the arse of the bike. So 23 centimeters, well, sorry, two measurements there, 19 and 23. 19 is the inside measurement to that frame, 23 is the outside. The issue that I've got here is that the rear end here is really quite wide, so that's 30 centimeters. Now I could get it narrower by chopping off more, but I start hitting the structural integrity of the bike. That is a fairly key joint, and it's got the weight of the fat bastard rider on it. There is a decent torsion bar onto the bottom bit there, so theoretically I could cut down there, but I'm not happy with that because that's putting a lot of weight on that one weld. That's the rider's weight. So I really need to keep it that length, and I can't go any further back. This bit I can get rid of, it doesn't do anything. Not specifically. Well, it was holding the weight of all the other shite on the back. So what? Could get rid of that quite happily. That gives me a nice flat surface. Hey, calf seat. Now the problem with that is your average calf seat, or certainly this one, is 20 centimeters on the inside edge. That's fine, that works. But at the wide boy bit, the widest point goes to 25. Sorry, 25, which is not enough. So what I'm going to end up with is a rolling overlap on the outside. I don't like that, and it's a crappy edge as well. I mean, I could do a quick spot weld there. I don't know, I could shave it in a bit. It's just starting to get a little bit too much. It leaves me two options really. Three options. One, I could go with the original, the flat arse, which is a little bit acquired taste, and I can just imagine the various Facebook sites tearing it to shreds when you go to sell it. All the normal arseholes that were never intending to buy commenting on other people's bikes, which really fucks me off at the best of times. So either gives me the square back, the putting something like that seat on it, option 2. Option 3, finding a seat that's wide enough, and that's going to be my job for tonight on Tintranet. Try and work that out, see if there is a seat that is 30 centimeters across at its widest point. I'm not too fussed if that point's further back. I can cut off the front, I can cut off the back. Don't want to cut off the back, that always looks better, but I can adjust the front to fit. Or, and this is quite a big or, I can just make one, which I'd quite like the thought of. So as long as I've got a sheet of something, whether that be metal, whether that frankly be thick enough plastic, that's not broad enough, so it's not going to be that. Whether or not I can make something that sits on the top, because what is a seat? It's plastic with foam on the top and a cover. That's simple enough to do. It's within my capabilities. Yeah. So I'm going to take my little diagram in for the night, sit in front of Tintranet, do a bit of shopping, have a bit of a look around, see what I can do, see if I can find a viable alternative that doesn't involve taking any more away from the frame. It's just got a wide frame there that's causing me the issue. Besides, while I'm doing all of that, it'll take my mind off the fact that the mudguard fucked me over. Cheers all, catch you later.